So let me guess, you are moving to Charlotte, North Carolina from out of state, and you maybe don't know where to start. Well, in this video, I'm gonna go through your 6 stages or phases to preparing for a move out of state. Now, while this actually will apply to any move out of state, of course, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm here to make your move what you want it to be. So we're gonna go through all of these 6 stages, so you better get ready and take some notes. So I'm going to take you through the process of 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out, just 1 week out from moving, the day before and the day of. The reason being, I know everybody is in a completely different mindset when they're moving, and those that like to prepare ahead of time, this is certainly going to be for you. But if you are a little bit more of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of person, it's okay. This is still going to apply to you, and I really suggest you take some notes so you can go through each one of these steps and everything that's applicable for you. So let's start at 8 weeks out. Now, this is going to be 2 months out from your move. This is the time where you're going to want to do research. Now, this is research on lending, on your move, on where you want to go, and I'm going to take you through each of these. But one of the biggest things you're going to want to research and understand is, do you have to sell your house to buy your new home? Now, this is something that you really have to prepare for in advance, because if you do need to sell your current home, that means you're going to have to make sure that you get aligned, figure out what your home is valued at, what you could potentially get for it, and start that preparation while you're preparing for your move. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but don't worry, it is easier than you might think. This channel is about everything Charlotte, North Carolina, the ins, the outs, and everything in between, including South Carolina. So if you're planning on making the move, be sure to subscribe and like this video to stay up to date on everything Charlotte and help you make your move. Now, here's the thing. I truly get calls, texts, emails, Zoom invites every single day from people just like you moving to the area. So that's you, whether it's 9 days or 90 days from now, whether moving across the world, across the country, or just across town. Give me a call, text, email. All my information is in the description below. I'm here to make your move exactly what you want it to be. Now, the next thing you want to research has to do with the neighborhood. As you can see, I have a ton of videos that can help you pick the right area and neighborhood, but honestly, it can get a little overwhelming. So as you're going through, watch as much as you possibly can to get a good feel for the area, but of course you can always reach out to us to find out what might best suit you between price range, what you're looking for in a neighborhood, and I can point you in the right direction. Now, when you're looking at these neighborhoods, keep in mind, there might be different price ranges, different schools, different activities nearby. If these are all things that you really want to hone in on, make sure to take a look at several of the videos, and you can even search in the search bar to find what you're looking for. Now, the next thing you want to start researching are your own finances. That's right. Now, I'm sure you know exactly what you have in the bank, but there are some costs that are going to be associated with making this move. One of the first costs you're going to want to consider is a moving company. That's right. Whether you're hiring a U-Haul or hiring someone to come in bubble wrap and box up all of your things for you, it does come with a cost. So you want to make sure that you start researching moving companies and book them up in advance. In fact, a lot of moving companies do book up in advance. Many of my clients have used pods, U-Hauls, or full service moving companies, so it depends upon you. What you also want to keep in mind is that there are going to be some costs associated with buying your new home and selling your old home. For your old home, it could be things like repairs that need to be taken care of or cleaning services. For your new home, it could be things like inspections and closing costs. So make sure you have some of that set aside. Another thing to keep in mind when you're researching and taking a look at finances is going to be the cost of living. So from where you're moving, it might actually be less expensive to live in Charlotte, North Carolina, especially if you're coming from places like New York, Florida, California, etc. Charlotte is going to be way less expensive. Now, for some other parts of the country, it might be very similar, but it's really good to know what that looks like and how it's going to affect your budget. Now, 2 other factors for finances you're going to want to keep in mind are going to be property taxes, which, let's face it, property taxes are different all across the country. Charlotte, North Carolina, and the surrounding areas, including South Carolina, run lower than most of the rest of the country, especially New York and California. So you can expect that your dollar is going to go further and you'll have less property taxes. Now, where some people do like to spend a little bit of money might be in private schools. We have some phenomenal private schools here in the Charlotte, North Carolina and South Carolina area. Anything from Christian schools, non-denominational, just private schools, you name it, we have it. So if you don't want to do public school, although we have great public schools, private school is something you're going to have to take a look at when it comes to pricing. One of the top private schools here in the Charlotte area is the South Lake Academy. It is highly rated, 15th in the state for high school and 4th in the state for elementary school. This is certainly a school you want to look into, with about $14,000 as a cost per year. Now, granted, that fluctuates. At the time that you might be viewing this video, it might have gone up. But keep it in mind, especially if you're making the move. The next thing you're going to want to do in your research phase is going to be planning a visit. I talk to a lot of my clients that are coming from out of state, and that is my first thing that I tell them is, we need to go ahead and plan a visit. You need to come out, you need to put boots on the ground, but some of them can't do that. So if you do want to buy in the area, but you can't actually get out here physically, that's where you lean on me and my team. We can go out and do the tours for you. But if you do have the ability to make a visit, I highly recommend it so you can truly feel out the right area for you. Now, the next thing you want to do is go ahead and speak with your employer, if you plan on staying with the same employer, to get a letter of employment, basically allowing you to make the move. Now, a lot of my clients, especially since COVID, work from home and work fully remote. In fact, that was part of the boom back during COVID, was so many people were going remote, they could move wherever they wanted to. Guess what? For many of you, I know that's probably still the case, and by being remote, you can go wherever you want in the country. With that being said though, just hearing it from your boss is not enough to get a loan. You're going to have to get a letter from your employer stating that you can work remotely from any region in the country or specific regions. Now, if you're staying with the same company but not going remote, you are still going to need a letter stating that you are still employed by that employer. Now, for some of you, you might not be moving with the same company and in fact are looking for new work. In this case, you're going to have to start lining up some job interviews and go ahead and get an employment letter. That's really the biggest thing that's needed in order for you to get a loan, is an employment letter from a company that says you're hired and at this pay rate. Now, I'm going to put a little asterisk because I work with a lot of nurses and those in healthcare. I know you don't work the standard 40 and you are an absolute blessing and a godsend, because I don't know how you do it. But you guys have a particular way of getting pre-approved. If you don't have a preferred lender that you already work with, I have an amazing team here in the Charlotte area. We can get you set up. They work with a ton of nurses and honestly every job and every career out there, but they understand how that works. And they have gotten every single one of my clients that are nurses fully pre-approved. So don't worry, we've got you covered. Now, if you're currently renting wherever you're living, you can give notice 60 to 90 days prior to moving out. This would be a good time to go ahead and start planning or letting your landlord know that you are moving. Now, in North Carolina, a lot of times, let's face it, you can't match up your move perfectly with your lease ending. But in North Carolina and South Carolina, when you purchase a home, you're not going to be making a mortgage payment those first 2 months you own the home. So if you have a little bit of layover from your lease and you weren't able to go ahead and put your notice in early enough, at least you're not going to be paying rent and a mortgage at the same time. But it's always good to plan ahead. Another thing you want to research is, if you are moving with the same employer, do they give you any incentives? A lot of my clients that move with larger companies are actually given some kind of stipend to help them in the move. This could go towards movers, it could go towards getting things set up, it can go towards house cleaning, it can go towards a variety of things to help you make the move. Hey, it never hurts to ask, and I highly recommend it, especially with those bigger companies. Now, for those of you, like I said, that fly by the seat of your pants, you might not be planning this, but I highly recommend going ahead and reserving a storage unit in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the region in which you plan on moving. The reason being, things don't always match up perfectly. And in fact, a lot of storage areas or storage unit facilities may end up getting filled up in advance. So if you're able to think ahead and plan ahead for the unknowns, going ahead and getting a storage facility reserved ahead of time will probably save you a lot of headache in the end. Worst case scenario, you don't need it. Best case, you have a backup plan. So now you're at 6 weeks out before your move. Now at 6 weeks, there's a lot that happens, and this is going to be your planning phase. Now, the first biggest thing that you're going to have to plan for is if you are buying here in the Charlotte area and you have a house to sell, we need to get your house on the market. Now, you may have an agent that you know, like, and trust in your area, and it's a great time for you to go ahead and give them a call, have them come on over, make the list of all the things that you need to repair to get the house ready for market, get photos done, and get it on the market. Now, for some of you in areas where your market is a little bit slower, this might be something you're going to want to do at the 8-week marker instead of 6 weeks. But for many areas of the country, homes are selling quickly. So with that being said, this is a perfect time to go ahead and get together with your agent. Now, if you do not have an agent that you know already in your area that you trust to sell your home for top dollar, I actually work with many agents across the country and have partners in all of the major cities. So if you need a recommendation of somebody that I highly trust and refer to my clients, go ahead and let me know. All my information is in the description below. Send me a message and I'll get you all set up. Now, here's some dates and timelines to think about when we're going ahead and purchasing a home here in Charlotte. We can end up closing a pre-existing home, which would be a resale home, anywhere from 20 to 60 days. Now, most of the time it's going to be in that 20 to 30 day marker, but if you, let's say, have to finish selling your home and close things out, sellers are sometimes lenient enough to do 60 days. On average, though, we're seeing 30 days for closing. So this starts to get your wheels turning to understand at what point in time you need to go ahead and have your home under contract and find and go under contract on your new home. Now, here's the thing. I can go ahead and reverse engineer your dates when we talk to make sure that we're getting your closing for your new house and your closing for your old house completely lined up so we won't have any hiccups. But this is just food for thought as you're planning in your planning stage. So let's talk about new construction timelines. If you're looking to purchase a new construction home, that home could close anywhere from 30 days to 16 months. Now, don't freak out. I know we're at week 6 and you're probably going, Kayla, I should have started planning earlier. It's totally fine. The reason why I say 30 days to 16 months is because sometimes new construction has what we call quick move-in options. So this is going to be things that you can literally move into. It's brand spanking new, but it's the same timeline as something that would be a resale home. Now, 16 months is a bit aggressive. Honestly, if you're going from the ground up, most homes only take about 8 months to build. But I have some clients who are building a fully custom home. With this being said, sometimes it can take 16 months. Now, that would be a totally different conversation. You'll probably be in a rental home for a little while. So it's just food for thought to understand what kind of property you're planning on buying and how long it might take to close on that. Now, I do have a lot of clients who would love to do custom. Sometimes they move into the area, rent a home, which, by the way, within this same time frame, if you plan on renting when you get here, that's a good time to go ahead and lock up a rental. But sometimes they'll rent while they're in the process of building their new home, which could take 12 to 16 months if they go fully custom. So it's just food for thought as you're making the plans of if you want to go fully custom. Now, again, most times you're going to end up being able to get into a new construction home between 30 days to 8 months if you go from the ground up. It's all preference. So I'll let you choose. So one last thing in talking about closing dates for new construction. New construction picks the closing date. When it comes to resale, we get to pick the closing date, which is how I can be a little bit more fluid and reverse engineer your close dates. With new construction, however, they get to pick that closing date. Now, the other piece of this is sometimes there can be building delays. Now, I remember back during the pandemic, there were all kinds of delays because things were stuck overseas. That's not always the case, but sometimes there can be weather delays and other such things that back things up. So keep in a buffer in your head that there might be a few days delay sometimes with the builder. So the next thing you're gonna have to think about in this planning phase is how do you want to pack your house? How do you want to move? Is this going to be a situation where you hire a moving company that they're going to come in and pack and bubble wrap everything you own, put it onto the actual truck for you, move it into your house and unload it? Or is this a situation where you're going to pay your friends in beer and pizza, one of my favorite ways, and get those boxes loaded? It all depends upon your budget. It's going to depend upon how much you have to move, and it's going to depend upon your preference. But this is a good time for you to go ahead and figure out how you plan on doing it so you can take steps to prepare. And the last thing in the planning phase that you're going to want to think about are budgets. That's right, things go wrong sometimes in a move. And I'm talking about missed flights, I'm talking about flat tires while you're on the road, I'm talking about an extra night's hotel stay. Be prepared and have a little bit of extra money budgeted for the just in case problems. Here's the thing, when you plan ahead and something doesn't happen, yeah, it's not a big deal. But when you don't plan ahead and something does happen, that's when it's a problem. So make sure you have a little bit of stash on the side. So at this point, you've got your house that you're selling is under contract usually, and you've got a home that you're buying that's under contract. Congratulations, you are in the process of making the move. So what do you need to go ahead and prepare for? Well, first off, you need to start to purge. That's right. What do I mean by this? That means the racket club that you had from years and years and years ago, or the ice skates that you have still in your garage, even though you live in Florida, go ahead and get rid of them. Not only are you not going to need them in North Carolina or South Carolina, but it's also going to go ahead and reduce your costs for moving. That's right. For every box that you're putting on that truck, you are going to get charged. Why move junk that you don't need? Purge now and get rid of it. Now, for some people, you might want to have a garage sale, because guess what? If you put it out on the front lawn, those extra couple of $100 might actually pay for some of your moving expenses. But for others, it's just not worth the time, effort, and hassle. I know for me, I've gotten very into donating things as of late because I just don't have the time to go ahead and haggle on my front lawn. But would I love a few extra bucks? Absolutely. So invite some friends over, they can help out, make a weekend of it. But whatever you do, go ahead and get rid of the excess before you make the move. Now I will say I have made this mistake before by not purging. And in fact, I heard about it from my husband as I'm unloading boxes and putting them in a giant pile for Goodwill and the Salvation Army. His question to me was, why did we move all those boxes if you were just going to get rid of them in the end? Here's where preparation comes in. I didn't prepare for that move. Now I will. Purge before. So now after you've started purging, go ahead and get a jump start on packing. 4 weeks seems like a really long time away, but it actually will sneak up on you, and a lot faster than you might think. So I'm not talking about packing your dinner plates. I'm talking about packing the things that you don't use very often. Get the things down from the attic, the Christmas decorations, anything that's winter or summer, the opposite of whatever season you're in. Pack up all those old records and books. Anything that you're not using on a daily basis, pick a room in your house that you don't go into and start piling it with boxes. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, but let's face it, you are moving. And the packing the night before method is not really very fun. I've been there, just don't do it. So pick an area of your house, start packing those boxes of all the things that you don't use on a daily basis. Now, another thing that you're gonna wanna do is pack a go bag. I do not mean an apocalypse go bag. I mean, you should go ahead and pack some essentials, because when you're making the move, usually that last night or two that you're in your home, you might be sleeping on an air mattress, you might have all of your things packed back up, and when you get to your destination, it might be a day or so before you get your belongings. So here's what I recommend you put into a couple of bags that you can have either in your car, on the very back of the U-Haul, or somewhere that's easily accessible, so you can end up having all of your essentials. You're gonna want all your toiletries. That includes deodorant and toothpaste and all of those things. You're gonna wanna make sure you have shampoo and conditioner. But here's the things that a lot of people forget about. Extra blankets, sheets. You're gonna want an air mattress, just in case. 2 to 7 days of clothing, and that includes socks and an extra pair of shoes. Yes, on one of my moves, I actually blew out my sneaker and had to duct tape it onto my foot. Don't ask, it was a long day. What you're also gonna want are things like paper towels, toilet paper, paper plates, and cutlery. I cannot tell you how many times I've helped someone move in and I bring these essentials with me and they go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that. I completely forgot, while we're eating pizza on the floor and there's nothing to wipe our hands with. So having those few essentials are actually going to help you through the move. Now, for all you coffee lovers out there, I know you're going to think I have to keep all of my cups out because, gosh forbid, I need coffee on the day that I move. Here's what I recommend. A good friend of mine did this on one of my first moves, and I do it every single time. Get some compostable cups that you can get from the store and are disposable. Go ahead and fill those up, and it'll relieve the need for you to leave all of your coffee mugs out. My coffee lovers, I feel you. And they come with to-go tops, so don't worry about it. Now at this time, you're also gonna wanna start updating your memberships. Do you have a membership to a local fitness place? Go ahead and let them know you're leaving, and have an end date to cut that off. Are you part of any VIP lounges or spas or things of that nature? Go ahead and make sure that you tell them you are leaving. The last thing you want is to get a credit card charge for somewhere where you don't even live anymore. So at 4 weeks in advance, usually they can set up that your next billing cycle cuts off. In addition, let people know that you're moving. This could be a great time to send out those change of address notifications. A lot of people do this via email these days, so don't worry, you don't have to mail them out. In addition to that, get into your Amazon account or any shipping accounts you have and make sure to change it to your new address. Cannot tell you how many times as an agent I have had people call me that just moved into the home saying, even weeks later, we just got a package. I've done it before. You just click go ahead and buy and it mails to that address. So make sure you go ahead and update that ahead of time. Now, while we're in this planning phase, you want to make sure you are setting up utilities and shutting down utilities. Now, I know you still live in your current home, but what you're going to want to do is call the utility company, let them know the last date of service. This way you don't have to think about it. Trust me, when it comes to moving day, there's going to be plenty of other things on your mind. The last thing you want is to know that the electric is still in your name at your old house and you haven't hooked it up at your new house. No one wants to show up to a cold house with no lights on. Now, here's one last piece when you're preparing for the move. I need you to make sure you set up your internet installation and any kind of updates that you want to make to your house the day after you're supposed to close. I cannot tell you how many times people are chomping at the bit at the closing table, trying to go ahead and get the keys so they could get their guy to put in the cable, or they could get someone to start installing carpets. Don't make any more stress than you have to. Go ahead and schedule us for the day after closing. Here's the thing, in North Carolina, you cannot get the keys to the home until it records at the Register of Deeds. What this means is you have to sign, the seller has to sign, it has to get sent electronically to the Register of Deeds, and if it doesn't make it there by 3:30, sometimes a little bit later, usually it's not going to record the same day. There can be a number of reasons for delays, and we try to avoid that the best we can, but sometimes things are outside of our hands. So understand you may not get the keys in the same day. There's some workarounds for that, so at least you have a place to put your head, but you won't physically own the house until it records. So make sure to set up all the installations for the day after, but at least you can do it in advance. All right, so now at 2 weeks before your move, we are into the administration phase. For everybody else out there, this basically means the paperwork and the background that all needs to happen in order for you to make the move. So this is a great time for you to change the address on your credit cards, on your phone bill, on all of those kinds of miscellaneous items to make sure that you have the right address so your bills and such get sent to the right place. In addition to that, this might be the time where you decide, you know what, let me start selling all of my furniture. In fact, a lot of people like to actually sell the furniture that they have and buy new furniture when they move into their new place, because in a lot of cases, the furniture they bought for their original home doesn't actually fit the layout for their new home. And in fact, it will also cut down the expenses for you to make the move. Let's face it, a couple of big sofas in a truck takes up a whole lot of room. Sometimes it just makes sense to buy some new furniture. So within 2 weeks out, this might be a great time for you to go ahead and hop on Facebook Marketplace and get your furniture up for sale. Now, just like I was mentioning when it comes to cable and installation of new things in the home like flooring and paint and all of that, any deliveries that you plan on having to the home, such as the movers and things like that, go ahead and plan that for the day after closing is set for. This is going to make sure that there's no backups. And what I mean by that is if you have the movers that can only move you in on the day that you're supposed to close and there's a delay and you can't get in for some reason, guess what? We don't want those guys just sitting out in front of your house, taking the clock, and you having to pay for it. So go ahead and schedule for the movers to come usually the day after. Now, I will guide you down this road as we get closer to it. That's usually the best school of thought. And now, if you decided to get a U-Haul or perhaps a pod, this may also be a great time for you to go ahead and confirm that those are going to be delivered or the time and schedule for pickup. This way you don't have any delays once you start packing. And in addition to that, if you are requesting time off from work to go ahead and make the move, guess what? You may want to go ahead and request that time off. Many of my clients work remotely and people don't really think about it ahead of time until when they're in the middle of a move across the country and they have to be on a Zoom call. Be sure to plan ahead and request that time off. Okay, now you are 1 week out from your move and it's time to go ahead and play cleanup. So at this point, you'll probably want to be working or living out of your go bag or a few small boxes that have your essentials. This way, the rest of the house can get completely packed up and out of the way so you don't have any stone left unturned. This is also a great time to hire a cleaning company to come out and clean your entire home. Now, a lot of people will do this once all their boxes are packed so they can come in and do a final swoop. The other way that you can do this is hire them to come out either the day before or the morning of closing to make sure that the buyers that are moving in don't have anything negative to say about the house, which could throw off your closing. In addition to that, you might also want to hire a cleaning company to go to your new house. Not every seller is as courteous as you, and your person you're buying the home from may not have had it professionally cleaned. When there's nothing in the house, it's way less expensive to have it cleaned, and it's usually going to be done far more thoroughly. Hire that cleaning company to go out to your new home and get in all the nooks and crannies, all the cabinets, all the closets, everything. So when you move in, you know you're moving into a clean home. Now, because you're living out of your go bag right now, that means you're gonna have all of your boxes prepped and ready and in the right spot. So when the moving company comes, nice and quick. The thing is, a lot of times you're paying for the time that moving company is spending at your home. So the faster they can get in and out, the less you're gonna have to spend. I've said it before and I'll say it again, but even a week out, it's probably a great idea to go ahead and call that moving company or the U-Haul or the pod delivery and make sure you get the right times and dates that everybody knows where they're supposed to be and when. Nothing can hiccup a move like people not showing up. So the day before is gonna be your final sweep of the house. This is when you're gonna go through every drawer, the attic, any cupboard that you maybe have forgotten even existed, those secret hiding places that many of us have in our home. Make sure you get all of those belongings out, because once those keys get passed off, it's not your house anymore. You're also gonna set aside all of the keys and garage door openers, any manuals might have, or even some fobs if you have a community pool or access areas. All of this you can usually leave on the kitchen island or in a kitchen drawer somewhere, being everything has been cleared out. This is gonna make it a lot easier for the new buyer and agent to confirm that they have all of that and make the move so much simpler. And then finally, it is closing day. You have made it to North Carolina and Charlotte or South Carolina, and you finally get to go ahead and move into your beautiful home. Now, as I said, in North Carolina, you won't get the keys until it records, but if there's any hiccups, a lot of times we can work it out with the seller to have a document in place that you can move in that evening. Now, in South Carolina, as long as they have the funds in their deposit, you can get the keys. So South Carolina, regardless, you're going to get the keys that day, which is really exciting. Now, whether you moved yourself or you hired a moving company, you're probably going to have a house full of boxes. Great time to start going through them, find the local pizza place that has the best pizza or Chinese food, not sure what your preference is, and go ahead and start unpacking. Now, this is also a great time for you to go ahead and change the locks on your house. Really good tip here. If your home has more than 2 doors with locks on it, it may be a good idea just to hire a locksmith to come out and change the tumblers on the door versus going out and buying all new hardware. New hardware could run anywhere from $25 all the way up to $100 depending upon your taste, which can add up quickly. When you get a locksmith, they can actually come out, make sure all the doors are on the same key instead of multiple keys. I've had that plenty of times. They can make sure it's on the same key for the same style tumbler, and the tumblers usually only cost about $35 to change out versus all new hardware on an exterior door. So keep it in mind, there are other options. You can get pricing before you move into town and then go ahead and line them up to come out and change out those locks. Now, you're also going to want to update your driver's license, your registration, all of that. Usually at some DMVs in the area, depending upon where you go, it could be 30 to 90 days wait in order to make this happen. And in some cases, you're going to need a bill that has your address on it. So best thing to do is to go ahead and jump online, book or schedule an appointment for the local DMV, and make sure it's at least 30 days out so you do have that bill that you can show them in hand. So this has been your full guide to make a move out of state. And while of course I preference Charlotte, North Carolina and the South Carolina area, this guide can truly be used for any move across the country. So if you have questions or comments, drop them below. I want to hear from you. And like I mentioned earlier, I actually do get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you who are moving to the Charlotte area from across the country and across the world. So if that's you, I do have all my contact information in the description below. Be sure to go ahead and grab that and reach out at any time. I'm here for you, and I'm ready to make your move everything you want it to be. So keep in mind, if you're moving to the area and you need help and any more information on neighborhoods, finding an agent in your area to list your home, or anything in between, we're here to help. So until next time, I look forward to showing you around town. So you're making the move. There's a lot of videos that you can be watching, like this one right here, or maybe even this one. Really either one of these. But honestly, watch both of them because they're going to help you make the move. Go ahead, pick one. They're both really good.